He opened the door expecting a quiet dinner. But instead of a hello, she softly whispered, "My kids are in the car. They haven't eaten." His throat tightened, not because he was unprepared, but because that used to be him, and he wasn't going to let history repeat itself. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. It was Friday. Ben Carson, 34, single dad, former systems engineer turned warehouse manager, had wiped fingerprints off the old glass door for the third time in 20 minutes. His son Tyler, 8 years old and wide-eyed, sat on the couch in mismatched socks, holding a flashlight like a baton. "Dad, what if she's a robot? You met her online." Ben chuckled, straightening his collar. "Then I'll just reprogram her to like tacos." The doorbell rang. He opened it and froze. She stood under the porch light, shivering slightly. Shoulder-length chestnut hair, anxious green eyes, and a voice just above a whisper. "Hi. I'm Claire. My kids are in the car." Ben blinked. The sentence hit like a quiet explosion in his chest. It wasn't the words. It was the shame she wore when she said it. Like she'd been judged 100 times before for not hiding her reality. "Did they eat?" Ben asked softly. Claire looked down, her voice tighter now. "Not yet. I didn't know if I should bring them in." Ben stepped aside instantly. "Bring them in. Tacos don't judge." Minutes later, a boy and a girl entered, both under 10, silent and exhausted. Claire's daughter clung to a stuffed rabbit that had clearly seen better days. Ben made room on the couch, set plates down, and let Tyler handle introductions. Claire sat at the edge of the table like a guest overstaying. But Ben didn't let the silence grow awkward. "I was a single parent at 26. I know that walk. The one where you try not to look hungry or too tired because people assume things." Claire's head jerked up. She studied him like she'd just been seen for the first time in years. After dinner, as the kids curled up with cartoons, Claire whispered, "I was going to cancel." I almost turned around, but something told me not to. Ben smiled. "Good, because I think this night was meant to be." But outside, watching from a tinted sedan, someone else had a different plan. Ben hadn't noticed the black sedan parked 3 houses down until Claire glanced over her shoulder, twice. Her fingers clutched the edge of her sleeve like a reflex she'd tried to unlearn. His instincts, sharpened from years of solo parenting and hard lessons, kicked in fast. "Is someone following you?" he asked quietly, not wanting Tyler or her kids to hear. Claire's eyes locked with his. "I don't know. I didn't think he'd still be watching me after all this time." Ben's jaw clenched. "Who?" Claire exhaled shakily. "My ex. He doesn't want custody. He wants control. He's already got his 3rd girlfriend this year. But he checks the GPS on my car and calls if I drive somewhere he didn't approve." Ben's stomach twisted. He looked at the kids now giggling over cartoons in the living room. And suddenly, this wasn't a date. It was a rescue mission. That night, Ben let them sleep in the guest room. Claire offered to leave after the kids had dozed off, but Ben just shook his head. "I'm not letting you walk back into that." Claire's voice cracked. "Why are you being kind to someone you barely know?" Ben looked at her. "Because someone once showed me kindness when I didn't deserve it either, and it saved me." He didn't tell her then that it had been a neighbor who gave him a job after Ben's wife left and emptied their bank account. A man who said, "You've got a son. That means you've got a reason to fight." The next morning, Claire tried to smile over coffee, but her hands trembled when she checked her phone. He tracked my location again. He texted, "Hope the kids slept well at your little boyfriend's." Ben didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said, "Pack what you need. Stay here, at least until we figure this out." Claire blinked. "You're serious?" "I'm not letting someone use your fear as a leash," Ben said. "He doesn't get to control where you feel safe." Just then, Claire's son came into the kitchen with a picture he'd drawn. It showed 4 stick figures holding hands. One had spiky brown hair, Ben's. Above it, he'd written, "New family?" Claire's eyes watered. Ben saw it, but said nothing. He just touched her shoulder gently. But outside, the black sedan's engine started and drove away. He was watching, and next time, he wouldn't just watch. 3 days passed. Claire and her kids stayed tucked into Ben's tiny home like puzzle pieces that had always belonged. Tyler and Claire's son became fast friends, building Lego towers and racing toy trucks through the hallway. Claire's daughter called Ben Mr. Tacos. Ben didn't correct her. But peace has a way of trembling right before it breaks. It was a Tuesday morning. Ben had just stepped out of the shower when he heard the knock. Not a gentle one, a thudding, deliberate knock that carried entitlement. Claire peeked down the hall and froze. Ben opened the door. A man stood there, late 30s, expensive leather jacket, mirror sunglasses, smirk that didn't touch his eyes. "Name's Chase. I'm here for my kids." Ben didn't flinch. "They're not yours to come take." Chase's voice dropped lower, icy and calculated. "Are you the boyfriend? Or just some sad loner playing hero? Because I'm not leaving without them." Claire stepped forward. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply stood behind Ben and said, "You haven't seen them in 5 months. Court said visitation starts next week. You missed the hearing, again." Chase's jaw ticked. "I'll be back with paperwork. This house isn't exactly safe, is it? Small place, cheap car, single dad. Kinda pathetic, Claire." Ben's voice was steady as stone. "Get off my porch." Chase's gaze locked on Ben one last time. "Enjoy the show while it lasts, man. You don't know who you're messing with." After he left, Claire collapsed onto the couch. Her hands shook too violently to hold her coffee. "He won't stop. He never stops. I used to think I was crazy." Ben sat beside her. "You're not. He's the chaos. You're the one surviving it." She looked up at him. "You don't owe me anything, Ben. I walked in here on a date. Now I'm asking you to risk everything." Ben leaned forward. "This stopped being about a date the second you said, 'My kids are in the car.'" That night, while the kids slept, Claire finally shared the truth. Her ex had used her identity for loans. Debt collectors had threatened to garnish her wages. One, a private firm, had connections to Chase's family's real estate business. She'd tried to go to the police once, but the officer she reported to had a drink with Chase every Friday. She handed Ben a flash drive. "Everything's on here. Bank transfers, names, accounts he doesn't want traced." Ben stared at it. "What do you want to do with this?" Claire looked at him, eyes hardened now. "Burn him down, the right way." Ben stood slowly, sliding the drive into his desk drawer. "Then we're not running anymore." But neither of them knew that Chase had planted a GPS tag under Claire's car, and he wasn't going to wait for court. Ben knew something was wrong the second he stepped outside for the trash. His instincts screamed before his brain caught up. A car had followed them home from the grocery store. It was parked a few houses down again. Different model, same tinted windows. Back inside, Claire stood over the stove, gently stirring a pot of soup. The kids giggled in the living room, their laughter echoing through the hall like a song from a better world. Ben didn't want to tell her. Not yet. Instead, he walked to the garage. 30 minutes later, he found the GPS tracker wedged under the rear bumper, sealed with magnetic casing. He held it up to the light like it was a ticking bomb. Because, in a way, it was. Claire's ex hadn't just wanted control. He wanted surveillance. Control was never about kids or rights. It was about domination, punishment, and fear. That night, Ben sat at the dining table with Claire. He showed her the tracker. "I think Chase wants you to know he's watching." Claire covered her mouth with a trembling hand. "He's escalating. He only gets like this when he thinks he's losing." Ben leaned closer. What happens when he realizes he already has? Claire looked at him, dead serious. Then he tries to destroy everything. Ben made a decision. He called a contact. Caleb, a cybercrime analyst who owed him a favor from the warehouse's old security breach. Within hours, Caleb traced the ownership of the tracker back to a shell company, funded by Chase's family trust. They had him. Claire sat on the porch that night, wrapped in Ben's hoodie, her kids asleep inside. "I used to believe I had to endure him. For my children. I didn't think peace was for people like me." Ben joined her, their shoulders touching gently. "Peace doesn't show up. You fight for it. You guard it like treasure." Her eyes welled up. "Ben, you could walk away. You could have shut that door that night. Why didn't you?" He looked out into the night, thinking of his own past. Of the night his son cried himself to sleep when his mother never came home. Of the years he spent convincing Tyler that love doesn't always mean staying. "Because I know what it's like to feel forgotten, and I never want your kids to grow up thinking they're hard to love." Claire broke then, just for a moment. A single sob escaped. Then she leaned against him and whispered, "Don't let go." But the darkness wasn't done yet. The next morning, Chase was waiting outside the school. Claire's daughter saw him first and screamed. Ben didn't wait. He drove straight there, heart racing, vision locked. Chase stood outside his car, phone in hand, pretending to scroll. Ben parked sideways, slammed the door, and walked up to him. Chase looked up with a smug smirk. "You touch me, and I'll have you arrested." Ben didn't flinch. "Do it. But before you do, maybe ask your family lawyer how those fake loan files leaked to the state's Financial Crimes Division." Chase paled. The smirk died. "I know about the shell companies, the debt laundering, the threats. And so does a friend at the DA's office." Chase stepped back. "You come near her again, near the kids, I won't just expose you. I'll bury you in every truth you tried to bury her with." Chase's eyes narrowed. "You think you're a hero?" Ben's voice dropped. "Number, I'm just a father who remembers what it feels like to lose everything. And I'm not letting it happen to her." Chase left. This time, he didn't look back. But Ben knew the final chapter wasn't over. Because sometimes, men like Chase don't need to break in to destroy you. Sometimes, they just make a phone call. 3 weeks later, it came to a head. Claire sat trembling on the wooden bench outside the county courthouse, dressed in a plain navy blouse, her hair tied back. Ben was beside her, wearing the same black blazer he wore to Tyler's school meetings. But today wasn't about school. It was about survival. Chase had filed an emergency motion, petitioning for full custody, citing an unstable domestic arrangement and the children's exposure to a stranger with no legal ties. His lawyers pushed the hearing through at lightning speed. Claire's voice cracked. "I should have never stayed. I should have run." Ben touched her hand. "Number, you did what you've always done. You protected your kids. Now it's my turn." Inside, the courtroom was cold. Chase sat flanked by two smug attorneys, his suit crisp, his ego smirking. He played his part well. Concerned father, regretful ex. Claire was painted as reckless, emotionally erratic, incapable of providing a stable home. And Ben? A stranger interfering in a delicate co-parenting situation. Chase's lawyer sneered. Claire was trembling on the witness stand. Chase's lawyer twisted her words until her voice broke. Then Ben stood. He walked to the stand, took his oath, and stared at Chase without blinking. His words came low and steady. "I've known Claire for a month. That's not long. But I've known fear for years. I've known the look in my son's eyes when his mother walked out and never came back. And I know what children look like when they finally sleep through the night. Because they feel safe. That's what her kids look like now. Safe." He turned to the judge. "This isn't about love triangles. It's about control. Chase Spencer has repeatedly violated privacy, used surveillance, and manipulated court systems to maintain power, not protect his children." Ben slid a folder across the table. Inside is a report from a cybercrime analyst confirming Chase planted an illegal GPS tracker. There are records of threats, texts, and a report from a children's therapist saying the children show signs of emotional trauma specifically linked to their father's presence. The judge opened the file. Chase's face turned pale. Silence took the room like thunder had struck. 2 hours later, the gavel came down. Temporary protective custody to the mother. Full restraining order issued. Investigation into Chase Spencer's conduct opened. Claire broke down outside the courthouse, sobbing into Ben's chest. Her kids ran up, arms around her waist. Ben held all of them. 3 months passed. Claire started working at a small local design firm. Ben had gotten her the interview. Her daughter was drawing again. Her son slept through the night. One evening, Claire stood in Ben's backyard as the kids roasted marshmallows. "Do you remember that night I showed up and whispered, 'My kids are in the car'?" she asked softly. Ben smiled. "You look terrified. But your eyes? They never begged. They just asked for a chance." She stepped closer. "You gave us more than a chance, Ben. You gave us a home." He looked into her eyes. "So stay." "I want to," she whispered, "but not as a guest." Ben kissed her under the porch light. This time there was no fear. Only warmth, only peace, only the start of something real.